What's up, guys? Nintenjoel here once again, and I'm back with my 10 great games that won't break the bank series. You guys seem to really like those episodes, so I'm going to try to do more of them. I'm running out of new consoles I can do that for, but I definitely can go back on a few other consoles. However, there is one that I've been meaning to do for a while, and that is the Game Boy. And at first I was actually going to have to do a Game Boy / Game Boy Color episode because I didn't have enough Game Boy games that were really good under that price that, you know, I felt I wanted to talk to you guys about. And anyways, I ended up getting a couple and they were perfect. In fact, I got one tonight, and part of the reason was because of this episode. I really wanted to do it, so I kind of got a game tonight because of this episode, but at the same time it was really something I've been after for a while. So without further ado, I'm just going to get on with it and talk to you about 10 games that are under 20 bucks that kick ass on the Game Boy. Now, there are a lot of Game Boy games that are under 20 bucks. I could probably do this list many, many times. I just don't own that many Game Boy games. These are just the ones that I own, so don't take this list as golden or anything. But of the games that I own, these 10 really kick ass. And starting with number 10, we have a side-scrolling shooter. We have Nemesis. Nemesis on Game Boy is really, really fun and utilizes the black and white palette just fine. It's actually got really, really good graphics. And when I was a kid, I was pretty impressed with this. One of my friends had it, and I was really jealous. And I really didn't get this game until very, very recently. And it's a lot of fun. It's got the same weapons upgrades as Gradius because it's actually part of the Gradius series. If you look at the logo for Nemesis, it's very much, it very much looks like the Gradius logo. But came out in 1990, very good game, really just utilized the graphics really well. What's surprising about the Game Boy is how well they program these games. Like, they pushed that little system to its limit. It had great music, it had great graphics, and yeah, it was a great system. And Gradius is a very good example of a very cheap game that is very, very fun. Number 9, now this one's got a screwed up label unfortunately, but this is a game that I spent a lot of time with as a kid. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan, and this came out in 1990 and was pretty cool. It had selectable characters. When you first start up the game, you can choose between Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael, and Michelangelo, and you know, if like one of them died, he was captured, and you had to choose from one of the other characters. The levels were very nicely made. I like the way the movement of the turtles is. I really, really enjoy the music. The first time you go into the sewers, man, the music is just amazing. It's so cool. It's just such a good game. It's really surprising how good these games are, and it's cheap as hell. It's a super cheap game. There were 2 more Turtles games, as far as I know, on the Game Boy, and those were really good as well. I just have this nostalgic thing with the first one. The second one had really large characters. This one not quite as large, but I kind of like the detail of this one. There's something about the look of this game that I really, really enjoy, and it's a blast from the past. I actually just played it the other day, and I freaking love it. Can't recommend that one enough. Another one that I got real recently, and this game is cheap. It's like generally under $5. Operation C for Game Boy, obviously. Operation C is a really cool Contra game. It is supposedly a reimagining of Super C for Nintendo. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I honestly haven't played a ton of Operation C or Super C like in a row to be able to compare them, and it's been a long time since I played Super C. I've played Operation C fairly recently, but like playing them back to back, it's been, I don't know if I've ever actually done that. So yeah, but Operation C is a really, really good game. I like it a lot. It's got really good graphics. Once again, just like Nemesis, this really took advantage of the system and utilized its full capabilities. Great music, great weapons upgrades, awesome bosses. You just can't go wrong. Operation C is just amazing. And of course, it's got the overhead levels that some people like, some people don't, but I find them enjoyable. I think it's pretty cool stuff. And so that was number 8. Number 7 is an interesting one. Number 7 is actually Final Fantasy Adventure for Game Boy. And so what's interesting about this isn't really a Final Fantasy game. Even though there's a character or 2 in there that actually look like Final Fantasy characters, this is actually Seiken Densetsu. This is the first Mana game. This is pretty much the one that came before Secret of Mana on Super Nintendo, and yeah, it's interesting that they slapped the Final Fantasy tag on it because it is not a turn-based RPG, it's an action RPG, and it plays very much like a Mana game, and there are characters from the Mana universe. But what's also interesting is there's a lot of cameos from other areas of Nintendo, like Kirby, and I think there's a Mario reference in there, and there's a couple other things. There's all kinds. Oh, there's a Chain Chomp in it. And so there's all these references to other games, and it's not a true Final Fantasy. But it will remind you of Final Fantasy in parts. Some of the music is kind of Final Fantasy-ish, and it's got the title. But yeah, it's a really good game, and it's under 20 bucks. I think that's one of the ones that's a little bit higher. I haven't really checked the price recently. I'm pretty sure it's still like 15 or so. But yeah, get that one before it starts going up a lot. It seems like people are starting to become a little more aware of that game. Final Fantasy Adventure is a great game, though, and they did remake this at one point. If I remember correctly, Sword of Mana on Game Boy Advance is basically a reimagining of Final Fantasy Adventure, which is really freaking cool. So I do have that game. In fact, I may be getting that complete in the box soon. So yeah, check out Final Fantasy Adventure if you need some RPG action on the handheld to go. Okay, so speaking of big adventures, big adventures, we've got Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, which was a 1993 title, so kind of late. This is a good example of utilizing the system later on and really making great games with the hardware that they had available. Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening actually did have a remake on Game Boy Color as well. It was called DX, and I think it had some extra stuff too. I do not actually have that game, but yeah, Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening is just more of the same. It's a great overhead adventure, sword swinging action, tons of items to equip. This one has some interesting things, though, about it. It doesn't take place in Hyrule, and there's barely any mention of Zelda. I believe she gets mentioned like once or something like that in the game. And it takes place on this island that Link lands on, and he has to use these he has to find these 8 instruments to summon a windfish so he can get back to his own place, I guess Hyrule, I'm assuming. And yeah, it's just this crazy big adventure, and you know, nobody talks about it anymore because it's on a freaking black and white system, or a green and black system, whatever. But yeah, really good game, not very expensive, especially because there's the DX version on Game Boy Color. Getting this version is very, very inexpensive, so definitely check that one out. Very, very fun game. So what we have next, number 5, we have Gargoyles Quest. Holy crap, this is a good game. This is a recent favorite. I got this from my buddy Jake, who I mentioned in, God, probably 2/3 of my videos. But Jake traded me this, and I was very, very happy. In fact, I think he got one of the Final Fantasies on Game Boy for it. But Gargoyles Quest is a really cool side-scrolling platforming adventure game where there are slight RPG elements and there are some overhead moments. And yeah, it's really good. It's a very cool game. You can cling on walls. You can hover in the air and kind of fly over to things. And basically, it's a spin-off of the Ghosts and Goblins series. And it features Firebrand, one of the bad guys, one of the most annoying bad guys from the Ghosts and Goblins series. And what's interesting about this is he's notoriously a red guy, but the cover of this, he's green, so that's pretty freaking weird. But yeah, this game came out in 1990 and was definitely a really cool surprise because this started a franchise. This started Gargoyles Quest, and then Gargoyles Quest 2 for NES, and then eventually Demon's Crest, the much sought-after Super Nintendo game that is really awesome in my opinion. So it's kind of interesting that a Game Boy game started a franchise that would later end up going to Nintendo and then Super Nintendo. That's just really cool in my opinion. And it's all a spin-off of one character from the Ghosts and Goblins games. It's really weird they decided to do that, but I'm glad they did because those 3 games are amazing. I can't recommend those games enough. All 3 of them are great. Gargoyles Quest 2, and Demon's Crest. Awesome, awesome stuff. Okay, so number 4 needs not much introduction at all, or much explaining. This game came out in 1999, Super Mario Land. This is one of the games I got when I was a kid. When I first got my Game Boy, my parents only bought me one brand new gaming system, and that was the Game Boy. one Christmas, and I was so stoked. And I got Super Mario Land with it, and Tetris, and another game that I'm going to show you here in a minute, and I think Fall of the Foot Clan. And Mario Land is the game that I probably played the second most. And that's saying a lot, because the game that I played the most, which I'll talk about here in a minute, I played a lot. But Mario Land, even though it's a simplistic Mario game, pretty much harkening back to just like the first Mario on, NES, even though it's simplistic, it's fantastic. It's just a little bit different. The characters are a little bit different. The worlds look a little bit different. And the music is really nice. Some of the best music on the Game Boy ever. I freaking love Mario Land music. I could play it just to get to the second world, just so I can hear that music. It is amazing. There are 2 levels where you actually take over little vehicles, including the last level, in which you fly a plane, and it's a little side-scrolling shooter level. Just like a previous level in the second world, you actually navigate a submarine underwater, and it's basically a side-scrolling shooting level. So much fun. I mean, how could you not love that? That's probably the first game I ever really played that was a side-scrolling shooter. That actually had side-scrolling shooter levels, at least. So, yeah, it's just amazing. I've beat it multiple times. It's a game that you can beat in probably 45 minutes or so. And, yeah, just a ton of fun. Can't recommend it enough. Cheap as shit. Just go buy it if you don't have Mario Land for some weird reason. And following up with that, in 1992 they released the sequel, Super Mario Land 2. It's called Super Mario Land 2 and the 6 Golden Coins. And this is the first game that features Wario as the bad guy. There's no Bowser in this game. You got Wario. I believe he's like taking over your palace or something like that. And you have to retrieve the 6 golden coins to take over, or something like that. I can't remember the story exactly, but great gameplay. And it introduced an overworld, which is really cool. And it plays a lot more like Mario World than any of the Mario Brothers for like Nintendo or like Mario Land. It's really cool because of the overworld, and also because you get some bunny ears that help you fly. And there's just tons to explore. There's a ton of levels. I actually have barely scratched the surface on this game. This is one of the games I need to play quite a bit more. But yeah, great game. It's like, I think it's under $10 if I remember correctly. If it's not much over. So Mario Land 2, can't go wrong. Must play it. Super awesome. Okay, number 2 is the game that I got literally tonight. I put a little thing on Facebook tonight, mostly because I was looking for this game, but also I figured it'd be a really great addition to this video, and sure enough, one of my friends actually had this game, so you guys get a little bonus pickup today. I picked up Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge, from my buddy Ken. Ken and me have done a couple trades, and he sold me a game, and I've sold him a game or two, and yeah, this was a really easy trade with him. I actually traded him Chrono Trigger on DS, which is pretty even trade, and I already have the original Chrono Trigger. I pretty much plan on playing that version. So I have a piece of my childhood back. This is a game I spent a lot of time on. This is not the one that I was talking about that I spent the most amount of time on. That's the last one I have to show you. But this one I probably spent the third amount of most time on. Yeah, this only got trumped by Mario Land in amount of hours that I played it. Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge is like such a step up from Castlevania Adventure, which was the first Game Boy game. Castlevania Adventure on Game Boy was really slow, really sluggish. Hit detection was kind of off, and just, it was hard because of how slow it maneuvered and how slow you jumped. And yeah, that was fixed a little bit in Castlevania 2. Now, this isn't a fast game by any means. You're still kind of a slow-moving guy. But that cuts down on the amount of blur from the Game Boy, which is a good thing, and it doesn't matter because the levels are really nice looking. Again, utilizing the graphics on the Game Boy just to its fullest potential. For being a 1991 game, it looks beautiful. And there are 4 selectable stages in the beginning, kind of like Mega Man, which is just amazing. There is the plant, the air, the earth, and the crystal areas, and once you beat those, there's another world with a few more levels, and you go on to beat Dracula. Now, I've never actually beaten this game. I got to the last world multiple times, and for some reason just never stuck to it and actually tried to beat it. But the music on the last couple levels is just amazing, so good. The music on the whole thing, sound effects, everything about this presentation Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge is no joke one of the greatest games for the system, and it is still under 20 bucks, although that is probably the highest priced one here. It is probably going to go above 20 bucks soon, I would not doubt it. It's been steadily rising. I used to have this complete in box, and I sold it a long time ago, like 7 or 8 years ago, because I needed cash, and I never played it anymore. I freaking sold it, and now complete in box, it's pretty hard to get, but yeah, I finally got a copy to play. I'm going to play this, no joke, as soon as I'm done recording this video, because I'm so stoked about it. Now, the last one I have for you, the last great game that won't break the bank for the Game Boy. This is an amazing, amazing title that I spent so much time on as a kid. It blows my mind how much more I enjoyed this game, even than the first Metroid. This is Metroid 2, Return of Samus. Holy crap, what a beast this game is. Now, this isn't to say that this game doesn't have its flaws. It does have flaws. It has no map. That's the main thing that people have a gripe about. No map in a Metroid game kind of sucks, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It's a fairly linear game. You have to kind of destroy these Metroids in a group. They give you a number at the bottom, and it shows how many Metroids are in this area. You have to find them, hunt them down, and kill them. And you basically finish that area, and then you go on to another area, have to kill more Metroids, and they evolve. They get to giant proportions and are genuinely scary. This is actually a creepy game. Play this game when you want to be like, when you want to have atmosphere in your game, a dark atmosphere. I mean, this Super Metroid had a really nice atmosphere as well, but the thing that Super Metroid had that actually made it not as dark as this one, in my opinion, is color. Super Metroid had super vivid colors, and because of that, it didn't quite have the creepiness that this one did. Not to mention, the soundtrack on this game is just straight up eerie. There's just beeps and clicks and whistles and strange, odd noises and ambient sounds, and it makes for a very cool experience. Very much like Metroid Fusion. I thought Metroid Fusion was actually kind of a creepy game as well for just a handheld little side-scroller. Yeah, it had a creepy vibe. So definitely check out Metroid 2 Return of Samus. I cannot recommend that game enough. That game is the best game on this table, hands down in my opinion. I can play it forever and ever and ever. I've beaten it several times, so yeah. Let me know what you guys think of this video. What are your favorite Game Boy games, you know, hopefully that are under 20 bucks. I know there's a ton of them, but, you know, everybody's got different favorites, and there's a lot that are cheaper that are not that great on the Game Boy, especially earlier titles. So, yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think of this list and what games you would put in your list for great games that don't cost a ton. And if you guys want to see more videos by me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's down there, it's red, and it says subscribe. Go ahead and thumbs up the video if you liked it. And also, I need to mention, I just started an Instagram account. It's just Nintenjoel. Please check it out. If you have an Instagram, I will swap you subscriptions or whatever it's called on Instagram. I'm not too used to it yet. But yeah, if you guys want to swap some Instagram stuff, I'm just putting a couple pictures up now and then for now, but I might put up small videos, little tiny clips and stuff, whatever I'm allowed to on there. So yeah, check me out on Instagram, and I do also have a Facebook page. It's just Nintenjoel as well. Nobody else wants that name, of course. So that's all I have for you guys. Thank you very much for watching. Go play some Game Boy games. Game Boy kicks ass, and play it on the Super Game Boy. That's an even cooler way to freaking play it. So yeah. Thank you very much for watching, and keep rocking retro games. Thank you very much for watching. Ha! Thank you very, very much for watching. I very much appreciate it.